Welcome to this comprehensive guide on DynamoDB indexes. In this video, we'll explore two powerful features that DynamoDB offers: global secondary indexes, abbreviated as GSI, and local secondary indexes, abbreviated as LSI. These indexes are essential tools for querying your data efficiently in DynamoDB, and understanding when to use each one will help you build more flexible and performant applications. Let's start with the basics. What exactly are secondary indexes? In DynamoDB, a secondary index provides alternative ways to query your data beyond the primary key. By default, you can only query a DynamoDB table using its primary key, but secondary indexes allow you to perform efficient queries on non-key attributes. This means you can search and retrieve data using different columns or fields that aren't part of your table's primary key. DynamoDB offers two types of secondary indexes: global secondary indexes and local secondary indexes, each serving different use cases. Now let's dive into global secondary indexes, or GSI. A global secondary index is an index that has a partition key and an optional sort key that can be completely different from the base table's keys. The word global refers to the fact that queries on a GSI span all partitions across the entire table. This means you're not limited to querying within a single partition. Instead, you can search across all the data in your table using entirely different attributes as your keys. Global secondary indexes have 4 key characteristics you need to understand. First, they are eventually consistent, which means updates to the index happen asynchronously and may take a brief moment to reflect changes from the main table. Second, GSIs can be created at any time, even after your table already exists, giving you flexibility to add new query patterns as your application evolves. Third, they have separate throughput settings, meaning you configure independent read capacity units and write capacity units for each GSI. Finally, GSIs offer flexible keys, allowing you to choose any attributes from your table as the partition key or sort key for the index. Moving on to local secondary indexes, or LSI. A local secondary index is an index that uses the same partition key as your base table, but allows you to specify a different sort key. The term local indicates that queries on an LSI are scoped to a single partition. This means when you query using an LSI, you're searching within the data that shares the same partition key value, but you're able to sort or filter that data using a different attribute than your table's original sort key. Local secondary indexes also have 4 important characteristics. First, they provide strong consistency, meaning reads from an LSI immediately reflect all writes that were successful before the read operation, ensuring you always get the most up-to-date data. Second, LSIs must be defined at table creation time only. You cannot add them to an existing table later. Third, they use shared throughput, consuming read capacity units and write capacity units from the base table rather than having separate capacity. Finally, LSIs must use the same partition key as your table, with only the sort key being different. Let's compare global secondary indexes and local secondary indexes side by side. When it comes to the partition key, GSIs can use a different partition key from the table, while LSIs must use the same partition key as the table. Regarding creation time, GSIs can be created anytime, even after the table exists, but LSIs can only be created during table creation. For consistency, GSIs provide eventually consistent reads, whereas LSIs offer strongly consistent reads, ensuring immediate data accuracy. So when should you use a global secondary index? Use a GSI when you need to query on attributes that are different from your primary key. They're ideal when you need to query across all partitions in your table, rather than being limited to a single partition. GSIs are also your only option if you want to add indexes to tables that already exist. Additionally, if you need flexibility with separate throughput control, perhaps because certain queries have very different access patterns, GSIs give you that independent capacity management. When should you choose a local secondary index instead? Use an LSI when you want a query with the same partition key as your table, but need a different sort order for your results. LS is our essential when you need strong consistency for your queries, ensuring you always read the most recent data. They work well when your query scope is naturally limited to a single partition, and you know your access patterns during the table design phase, since LS must be defined when you create the table. Understanding these differences will help you choose the right index type for your specific use case in DynamoDB.
If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit codelucky.com for more such useful content.